In order to make your encounters more memorable, you want to play with 4 factors: the diversity, the intensity, the escalation, and the surprise. Whichever encounter you're improvising will depend on these 4 factors. In order to improvise a memorable encounter, you want to create a diversity of encounters. The first sub-factor on which you can play is the atmosphere. The atmosphere frames the encounter. It is the foremost factor on which you want to play. The atmosphere will lead the characters to an interaction, which will lead them to a resolution. These 3 factors should be treated in this order in order to improvise comfortably. The second factor is the intensity of the scene. You can have three kinds of intensity. You can have weak encounters, strong encounters, and mixed encounters. Weak encounters generally depend on weak characters. When it comes to weak encounters, there are 2 main questions to consider. Should your character allocate time to this encounter? And should she make use of violence in order to resolve it? If your character is superior to her opponent, she is unlikely to waste her energy on this kind of opponent. Likewise, if it is a weaker ally. Here, even if the encounter is a benevolent type, the level of the character would be wasteful for your character team. Weak characters may be in need of help, and they also may be in possession of valuable pieces of information. Then you can ask yourself those 2 questions. Should your character help them? Is it a valuable use of their time? Strong encounters are based on strong characters. They are based on opposition. But opposition doesn't mean hostility. And characters may be opposed in early stages and then ally later. Strong characters tend to have high goals. Therefore, your characters may want to recruit them. A strong encounter is also an unusual encounter, so they should be used sparsely. Creating an out-of-boundary creature or individual is necessary to create a strong encounter. You'll want to use strong encounter if you're using the 10 chapter formula only 3 times in your story. It doesn't mean that these 3 times will be the 3 crises. Crises don't have to be strong encounters, but don't use them more than 3 times or they will oversaturate the story. Mixed encounters are meant to be surprising, so they'll have to be linked to the surprise element later. They are meant to shock the character. Mixed encounter doesn't necessarily mean that you have a combination of weak and strong character, but it's the easiest way to improvise it. And here, the focus is on the improvisation, so the easiest way to create a mixed encounter is to create a group of weak characters and strong characters. The groups can be of different size, they can be different kind of creatures. The nature of the group can be the shocking element itself. When it comes to escalation, you will want to use 3 levels of emergency. You want to alternate issues, threats, and crisis. They go in this order. So the first level of emergency you want to use is the simple issues. Simple issues are common. They take place in mild environments. Generally, when it comes to simple issues, the atmosphere itself is not the threatening element. they will often be solved through peaceful resolution, and they may lead to new characters willing to cooperate with your team. They may be frustrating if they are too often used, as they are mundane, which leads us to the threat. The threat is the entry level of danger. They are more dangerous as the environment itself becomes part of the menace. Weather is a way to create danger, so use different type of climate, different type of atmospheres. Structure here are meant to have dangerous specificities, so you can use buildings in order to create danger. You can use traps, which will lead to obvious danger, but you can also use the very architecture of the building. The level of, well, the building can be quite old and insalubre. There can be hostile characters, which is another obvious way to create danger. In the case of a threat, the character will often face a strong opposition. So, if you mix escalation and intensity here, the threat requires strong opponents most of the time. Threats tend to be solved in a non-pacific manner. That's not the only issue, the only outcome. The last level of danger is crisis. Crises are harsh. They are the escalation foremost step. They should leave the characters scarred. Crises are rare. You only have 3 of them in your story if you use the 10 chapter structure. They are meant to be memorable, but you can improvise them using a simple structure. In order to improvise a simple crisis, give something to your character and then remove it from them. Crises are particularly adapted to action, drama, and horror, but they can be used in adventure and comedy as well, if your target emotion is different. Once you've defined your level of escalation, you can decide on the kind of surprise you want to produce. Surprise can be created by 3 main elements. A hidden character, which is a character whose intentions are hidden, with goal is hidden as well. A third party, which is an unidentified organization which will appear later in the story, or an alignment shift. Those 3 elements are separate and can be used independently, or they can be used codependently. The hidden character is hidden, but not in a literal manner. In most of the cases, the character is hidden figuratively. Her role is hidden. Her goal is hidden as well. She can pretend to be a hindrance or a benefactor to the party and be the opposite. She can also be beneficial to the party without willing to do so. A third party is different. For a third party is an unidentified, generally group, but it can be an individual, which will appear later, so it is literally hidden. This third party may appear near the conclusion of the story. The later it is, the simpler the explanation should be. And finally, the alignment shift concerns a character which was known since the beginning, and contrary to the hidden character, whose goal was clear. The alignment shift concerns a character who really changed of side. And she may change of side for 3 main reasons. She may want to obtain experiences and sensations, a title, or an information.